Hello and welcome to Georgia Bulldogs Live here on the Georgia Voice of College Football. I am one of your hosts, Matt Green, and then over there, my co-host, Bo Underwood. Thank you for joining me again today, Bo. How you doing?
I'm good, Matt. How are you, man?
Oh, I can't complain, man. It's a good time to be a Georgia Bulldog fan with the recent news of Jared Curtis's commitment to the G.
Yeah, dude.
We'll obviously get to that. Went live yesterday. Some people saw it. Some people saw it. I had to get an instant reaction in there on Monday night, but yeah, it's a good time. Braves beat the Dodgers on Sunday night,
They
right?
did.
Got an
They
off
did.
day, so the
Yeah.
Braves are getting back in there too. But yeah, man, it's a good time of year. Like we said,
Mhm.
NBA basketball, NBA playoffs are
Dude,
going on. It's a
last
good
night was
time to be a sports
crazy.
fan.
Last night, I don't know if you saw either of the NBA games last night, but they were both
Yes,
amazing, man. They
man,
were awesome.
I'm glad I stayed up for that Denver
Yeah.
uh
OKC. Yeah.
OKC game last
What a
night. That was
game.
an insane finish.
Yeah, Aaron Gordon. I
They just
I
stole
actually
that
turned
one.
in my last ever assignment in school today. Like I finished college, so that's been really
Hey, there we go,
like now I'm
man.
doing I finished it and I had like an hour and now I have this. So like
If I had an applause track to play here, a sound effect, I would have played it. But hey,
like crazy.
congratulations, man! Class of 2025, man. That makes me
Yeah.
feel old. But it's like I graduated later than people my age, and it's still been a while. So congratulations, man. And I appreciate everyone who's watching, everyone who's tuning in live. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. You got something to say, jump into the comments and we'll talk it out. We'll maybe shout you out on the show here.
We'll
So
argue with you.
yeah, exactly. And so follow me on social media at Matt_W_Green, or that guy over there, Bo Underwood _. Jump on the Twitter machine and
Yes.
say what you got to say. But yeah, I appreciate everyone who's watching. Let's take care of business here, Bo. If you want to get your business, product, service, or personal
Oh yeah.
brand to the next level by partnering with the Voice of College Football, contact us at sponsorships@vocfb.com. Also, got the new website up and running, vocfb.com, for the Voice of College Football, of course. So check that out. You can go watch old shows, old videos we've done, or other channels on the Voice of College Football Network. So, Bo, let's get to the big news, the breaking news that was yesterday. I obviously talked about it a little bit yesterday, but we can both hash it out now. Jared Curtis, number
Yeah.
one quarterback in the country out of Nashville, Tennessee, 6'3", 225, getting comparisons to a dual threat Matthew Stafford over here, just getting me real excited. The Lions fans over here getting real excited. But yeah, man, I said it before. I just feel like it's been a while since Georgia had a recruitment that I feel like the fan base was really like hinging on. Like,
Yeah.
we signed like a Jalen Carter, like a top 10 player, Jordan Hall, a
Yeah.
top 10 player, Trayvon Walker's. Like, we signed a bunch of
Mhm.
guys like this.
Elijah
But
Griffin too.
yeah, exactly. But it's something about this one.
Okay.
It's the quarterback position. I think you got to go back to Justin Fields. The
Mhm.
last time, like the fan base was like, we need this
With
guy,
the
and
program on the
so I
line.
think part of it was the national championship drought. It was like, who's going to be the
Yeah.
savior? Is Matthew Stafford
Uh-huh.
going to be the savior? Is Aaron Murray going to be the savior? Is Jacob
Mhm.
Eason going to be the savior? And it turned out to be Stetson Bennett.
It was Stetson
But
Bennett.
now Georgia's got Jared Curtis in this NIL era. But what do you make of it? What are your first thoughts about the commitment, Bo?
Yeah, I think it's obviously pretty great for Georgia. Like you were saying, it's been a while since they really went after. I mean, not went after them. They go after all these guys, but it's been a while since they're a commitment with a 5-star hot shot quarterback prospect has really been in the cards for them. So huge for that program nowadays in college football. Like obviously Georgia has won national championships with the likes of Stetson Bennett. They've won a lot of games with guys like Jake Fromm. and hopefully Gunnar Stockton as well. But like the way college football is changing, and the way that these quarterbacks move around and everything, it's like it really feels like you need kind of a blue chip playmaker at quarterback, rather than like a guy who can just kind of conduct the offense. It just kind of seems like the game is moving in that direction. And man, Jared Curtis is a ridiculous talent. I know it's early. I know he's a high school senior, so don't want to put too much on the kid right away. But man, I mean, he, like you said, he's every bit of what, like 6'3", 240 or something. Maybe he's probably 230, but like super athletic kid, cannon for an arm, really good runner. Like he has all the makings of a great college football quarterback, and I think Georgia fans, if they're not already, should be pretty stoked about this.
Absolutely, and you've seen some of the highlights of just him trucking the dude going into the end zone, and just like he's a legit dual threat. And I think, Georgia's had a lot of success with quarterbacks that don't have a real run threat. But when we did have one, we won 2 national championships. So I think that says a lot. Like, obviously it wasn't just Stetson Bennett. It was a loaded team around him as well. But, I think there's an element to that of just the quarterback being able to, be a threat with his legs is just, it's a game changer.
Yeah.
And I was looking at the all-time quarterback commits, or like 24/7 keeps like the all-time commits like listed, like the highest ranked guys they've ever had. Justin Fields, unfortunately for Georgia fans, still the highest ranked recruit Georgia's ever signed. And Jared Curtis is not signed yet, but he would be the 6th highest ranked recruit Georgia's ever signed. So Jacob Eason is at 9, Stafford is 10. Okay. Like those are other guys that were like the number 1 or 2 quarterback in the country, depending on who you ask. DJ Shockley. What's that?
So he's ahead of Eason.
Yeah, a little bit higher than Eason. I don't have the full list of like who the overall players are. I think Nolan Smith was up there. I know Trenton Thompson's up there.
Trenton Thompson, he's the number 1 player. So
I think Elijah Griffin is up there, like top 7 or 8 highest ranked players they've ever.
Where's Ellis Robinson on there?
Ellis Robinson was number 2.
Probably pretty high.
Yes, he was number 2 behind Fields. That's a good call.
He was number 2?
Yeah.
Wow. Dang, dude.
I think Brandon Miller, for the older Georgia fans, they remember he was super big time coming out of high school, linebacker who had a solid career. That's what sucks about these recruiting rankings is Brandon Miller had a good 4-year career at Georgia, but since he's like the highest ranked linebacker they've ever signed, it's like this guy was supposed to be the greatest thing ever, and you're like, he was okay.
Yeah,
same thing. He never said he was the best linebacker of all time going out or anything. Yeah, but those labels get kind of put on players.
Yeah, same thing with Trenton Thompson, too, because he was like a good 4-year player at Georgia, but also like he came in as the number 1 recruit, so it's hard to really say.
I think that's my biggest beef. He was not a 4-year guy. He could have come back for his senior year.
He did. Oh, because he declared and he went undrafted. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because he had that weird off season before his junior year where he like lost a bunch of weight and stuff, and people said he's having like off the field issues or whatever. So he wasn't like his best self. I think 2017 was his junior year.
Yeah, I was.
Because he had that hit in the national championship game where he destroyed that guy. Gosh. He was one of those. It's like he was like Jake Fromm. Like Jake Fromm, you just had your worst year of your 3 years in Athens. Why are you going pro now? Like come back to your senior year, get your stock back up. But
that was the weird one, dude. What if Jake Fromm had a year with Todd Monken? Like, what do you think would have happened?
I know, man. I've said it a lot. I've said it. I mean, that 2020 Alabama team is one of the greatest teams I've ever seen, and let's be honest. Stetson, all-time great. Stetson was bad in 2020. He was bad in 2020. It is what it is. He was great in 2021 and 22. But with Stetson Bennett at quarterback, they were beating that Alabama team in the 3rd quarter, like in Tuscaloosa. Yeah. Like I imagine Jake Fromm in that situation, a 4-year starter at that point. Who knows? Yeah, who knows what could happen? And that 2020 defense, we've talked about it. Like the 2021 defense gets all the hype, but like almost all of those guys were on the 2020 team too, to go with Ojulari and Stokes and Campbell too.
Brainy and all those guys.
Yeah, so it's definitely a what if thing. I like how the 2020
defense becomes like it gets brought up every episode because we're both just like, man, that was a really good defense.
I know, and it was such a man, the COVID year was such a weird year of college football that year too. And I want to say there was some sort of advantage Georgia was going to have in their schedule that year, but then the schedule got thrown out, and so like Florida ended up having like an easier schedule than they were going to, or something. There's something about I can't remember. Don't hold me to that, but there was something weird about the scheduling too that happened that year. But it is what it is. That's definitely a team like the one year that under Kirby Smart that they just didn't have the quarterback position, and they had just about everything else. They had a George Pickens out wide, Zamir White and James Cook in the backfield. But we're not here to talk about 2020, like you said. But yeah, also on that list, DJ Shockley was 25. The most underrated. I'll stand by this. The most underrated 5-star quarterback Georgia's ever signed, Brock Vandagriff, sir, in 2021. Yes. Because we were just talking about COVID, you cannot convince me that having a quarterback who lived basically in Athens, Georgia during COVID when you couldn't do visits, like I think that helped keep that 2021 class alive, like together. And man, that 2021 class was special. Like Brock Bowers, everyone else they brought in, Javon Bullard, who you name it, all the guys that were free and done.
That was an
part of 2 national championship teams.
Too.
Yeah, exactly. Like that 2021 class was loaded, and having a 5-star quarterback, in town that's able to like host, recruits and all that at his parents' house and things like that. Like I think that was just massive.
Yeah. I've never thought about that before. That's actually a really interesting point. I always really liked Brock Vandagriff, man. I wish it would have worked out for him at Georgia, because every time I heard him talk, I was like, this is a good old boy, man. This is a good dude that just loves ball and loves his teammates. And I hope whatever he's going, I don't know what he's doing now, because he retired from football.
Yeah, just retired. I think he's coaching somewhere. Like I think I saw him coaching somewhere in high school or something. I can't remember that. But yeah, who knows if Georgia ends up with Caleb Williams in that class, how different things could have gone. Or honestly, if Brock Vandagriff goes to Oklahoma and then USC with Lincoln Riley, is he a Heisman winner? Like, can Lincoln Riley just do that with anybody? I don't know.
Lincoln Riley just blew up that whole quarterback class because when he went to SC, it just screwed everything up.
Yeah. But so then Aaron Murray was also in there, top 50. I think he was the 42nd ranked recruit Georgia's ever signed, according to 24/7's.
Because he was a good recruit, but he never had the physical tools that some of the other guys that we just talked about have. Where like Stafford, Eason, and Curtis can all throw it from here to Mississippi, but Aaron Murray wasn't even 6 feet.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like when you look at these 5-star recruits over the years, it's like you see a guy who's 6'5" with a rocket arm, and it's like, okay, I understood what the upside was there. Aaron Murray, he's kind of a surprising 5-star. Like obviously he was a legit dual threat, like in high school and stuff like that, and he had all the intangibles going for him. He had that played with like a broken leg or something from like high school game or something. But it's kind of interesting. And as a freshman too, he used his legs a little bit. But you never really saw him after that until his senior year. That run against Tennessee was pretty insane. And he had the that comeback against Auburn before the prayer at Jordan Hare was
because he had the quarterback sneak that they reviewed for like 5 minutes if he scored.
And I still don't know that he got in.
Scored. We're like, hooray! And then 4th and 18. Doesn't matter.
I know, man. It was brutal. Shout out to Josh Harvey Clemens and Trey Matthews,
who literally transferred to Auburn after that, which is unbelievable. Like
maybe he was a sleeper cell all along.
Had to have been, dude. And then Josh Harvey Clemens, I think, went to Louisville after that. Like,
oh man, I was a huge Josh Harvey Clemens fan. I feel like, man, playing that star position, if we could have Josh Harvey Clemens right now, I know he got like some off-field troubles too, but he's just that perfect dude for the star position. He was so damn athletic, and just I think Alabama's recruiting him as like a receiver, and he was like a 5-star safety.
Matt, you can add any player to the defense that you want. Josh Harvey Clemens. Josh
Harvey Clemens. It's still real to me, damn it. No, but yeah, I feel like he's one of those. You always have those recruits that you like felt were gonna be like the real deal, and
absolutely,
you
dude.
kind of like
Yeah,
you hold out hope for him. I think he ended up
yeah.
in the NFL for a little bit because I
He
think he was on
did.
one of those
He
Grantham
made
defenses at Louisville is pretty good, right?
yeah,
Was
yeah. He
was
made
he in? Was he on that Belk Bowl team we that Georgia
You
played?
know, I think he might have been actually.
Yeah, he
Let me
may
look
have
it
been.
up.
He
That was
was
the 2015 season, right? Because
what's
Grayson
funny
Landis
is I
was
remember that would have been the 2014 season because that was
the
Chubb's
2014
freshman
season. Okay.
year. Yeah,
Yes,
so
he was at per Wikipedia. He was at Louisville when that happened.
okay. It's funny
He
how you can remember things. Well, I should say how I remember things because I just remember random
he
stuff. But
was
I
he was in the
remember
NFL for 4 years.
I remember oh, okay. I
That's pretty
remember that
good.
Josh Harvey Clemens definitely played when Georgia had the curved numbers. So
Yeah.
they switched to the curved numbers in 2013. So I'm like, okay, he was definitely
Okay.
at
There
Georgia
you
in
see. That's
2013.
like that's the cutoff point.
Yeah. So
It's like before Isaiah Crowell and after.
yeah, there you go. Because Gurley's freshman year they had him,
Mm-hmm.
and
Early's
then they
freshman year
changed it up.
because that was the SEC championship year that they lost to Bama.
Yeah, but man, I am huge fan of the block numbers. Glad they brought them back. The
Yes,
curve numbers they didn't fit the tradition of
I'm
Georgia
so glad
football.
they brought him back,
But
dude.
that's another topic for another day. We could talk uniforms
Yeah,
for a
oh,
while
we
here,
can,
but
dude. I can talk about some uniforms, man. We'll be here all night.
but the last thing we'll
Yeah,
say about
let's
Jared
get back to
Curtis.
Jared Curtis though. We took like a 10
Yeah,
minute detour.
exactly. We're talking recruiting. We're all over the fans are the diehards remember the
Yeah.
recruiting wins through the years. Which one that was a crazy one too. Josh Harvey Clemens. Were you following back then? Do you remember his signing
No,
day?
dude, I was like 8 when he committed.
Well, let's stay on our sidetrack here.
Okay.
And he signed with or he committed to Georgia. He was from Lowndes, which
Okay.
Lowndes, a
Yeah.
powerhouse down in
Right.
Valdosta, and he committed to Georgia on ESPN on like National Signing Day back when it was like a national holiday and you got
Yeah.
10 hours of coverage on ESPN. And then he didn't sign for like 8 hours because I think his uncle was like his legal guardian, or maybe his grandpa was his legal guardian or something. And they wanted him to sign with Florida. And so he was like unsigned for like 8 hours or something like that. And Georgia fans were sweating it, but he ended up sticking with the Georgia before obviously ending up in Louisville. But yeah, the last thing I'll say about Jared Curtis, this feels like it's just such a huge domino. Like Georgia went from 17, which obviously recruiting rankings don't matter, but went from 17th to 7th just with Jared Curtis's commitment.
One guy.
And now you have Jackson Cantwell, number one offensive lineman in the country, announcing on May 13th. And he's not only moved his visit back moved his commitment date back and scheduled an unofficial visit to Georgia this weekend. And Jared Curtis is going to be there too.
Curtis said he's committed. He's been recruiting him.
Yeah.
He said I watched the interview he did with, I think it was like On3 or somebody. And he's like, I'm trying to get him to come here.
Absolutely, man. And not every quarterback does that. Some guys just take care of their business and whoever's playing with them is going to be there. But man, when the quarterback can be kind of that lead recruiter in the class, I think that's what leads to, signing a potential number one class. And it's Kirby Smart. So, it's going to be at worst the third ranked class in the country, but it's definitely a good chance it could be number one with some of the big fish they have that are still out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. I thought Cantwell was for sure going to Miami, but I think like that Curtis commitment, man, that could shake a lot of things up.
For sure. I think and Oregon was on the board for Cantwell too. So it's like, these guys were talking.
Oregon, man. They're gonna hate Dan Lanner's gonna hate us.
Oh, absolutely, man. It's a zero-sum game in recruiting, the no points for second place.
That it is.
So let's see. Do you want to get our position preview, or do you want to talk about Peter Burns throwing some shade at Georgia?
Let's get to him. Let's talk about Peter first.
Okay.
Peter had some very interesting things to say this week.
Yeah, so Chris Doering and Peter Burns were talking this week. And Peter Burns, I don't have the quote right in front of me. I was trying to find it, but you saw the quote. Yeah. Basically said that the SEC runs through Texas now. And I understand that Texas is one of the powerhouses of all powerhouses. But could you imagine anyone saying this before
Okay,
about Georgia.
Here's what he said verbatim.
Okay, give it to me.
Not only does he say that this is the full quote. He goes, "The SEC does not run through Georgia right now. The SEC powerhouse are the Texas Longhorns." So not only is Texas the powerhouse, but he specifically said that Georgia is not. So
yeah, I don't know. It's
very
a bold.
interesting.
It's just a very bold statement because, like, if you think, and I'm not necessarily. I guess I am comparing Georgia to Saban's Alabama. Obviously, Georgia's not to that level of dynasty of just like a decade. But can you imagine in 2019 someone being like, the SEC runs through Athens now? It's like based on what? It's like all the signs are pointing toward Georgia being a powerhouse, but they haven't even beaten Alabama. They've lost to them multiple times in multiple big games to this point. It would just be a really weird thing for someone to say. So it's like this is one issue I kind of have with like the JP poll with like Josh Pate. Like I understand the premise of it, it's like a power ranking, but it's just used so much. Like gambling has just gotten so big and everything. Like, oh, what would they be on a neutral site? What would the point spread be? Like that's just gotten too much involved in like the sports discourse, in my opinion. And so it's like the first game between Georgia and Texas. It's like, oh well, Texas would be favored, then they must be better, and Georgia wins that one in Austin. And then they go to the SEC championship. Texas is favored again. Georgia plays the second half with their backup quarterback. They beat them again. So it's like they've lost to them in two biggest games, and not to mention basically the only two big games they played in the SEC last year. Like Texas's schedule, they weren't facing Alabama in a traditional LSU powerhouse or something. It's like it was a pretty easy SEC schedule. I'm not sure what deal they did that Oklahoma didn't do.
Dude,
but
I was about to,
Oklahoma got totally screwed in their year one schedule.
Dude, Oklahoma got like the worst schedule ever. Like they got like everyone. They got everyone except for Georgia, basicly.
Yeah, they really did. And
they got
part
LSU,
of it,
they got Texas, of course. They got Alabama, who they beat.
Yeah.
Did they get Florida too?
Not that Florida was anything. But they played Tennessee, who was better.
Oh yeah, they did play Tennessee. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they beat them too. Like, or no, Arkansas.
No, Tennessee. Yeah, Tennessee beat them.
Same thing. I get those I get the colors.
But yeah, and obviously part of it is that
I was just thinking of the last play where Nico runs out of bounds, and I was like, that was Oklahoma, but no, it was Arkansas.
I mean, in the visually, if you're picturing your head, it's the exact same uniform.
See, it's
Arkansas
the same thing.
And
That's
Oklahoma.
Just what my mind's eye told me.
That's funny. But yeah, it's and part of that is Texas was on Oklahoma's schedule and Oklahoma was on Texas' schedule. Mm-hmm. So Texas being better was one less good opponent.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just interesting to me. I understand all of the raw materials, that just the foundation that Texas is and just where they are in college football right now. But it's so obvious that the SEC still runs through Athens, Georgia. Like the fact that we saw the worst Georgia team in, I would say, the last 5 years. And although we're talking about 2020 again, you can make an argument for that 2020 team being better than 2024.
Yeah.
Because at least they could run the ball and had an elite defense. Bad quarterback play, but this team had their quarterback struggles at times too. Yeah. But you just probably the worst Georgia team of the last 5 years and the best Texas team of the last 20 years since like last 15 years since Colt McCoy or something.
Yeah, Colt McCoy. Yeah.
It's like, and Georgia beat that team twice. Like I didn't even think Georgia was that good last year as a Georgia fan. I'm like, man, we don't seem as good as we usually are. Playing a lot of close games, struggling with a lot of teams, and they still beat Texas twice. So
neither of which were in Athens, by the way.
Yeah, and the first one was, I mean, I don't know if you call it a blowout because I don't think what was the final score? Is it 16, 15,
the
30
final
to 15?
Score was 30-15. But it
felt like a blowout. It was a domination.
Honestly, the thing, it stopped feeling like a blowout after the water bottle throwing thing.
Yeah.
Before that, it was like, man, Georgia's going to run these boys back to Austin. Like, I mean, they're already in Austin, but you know what I mean. They're gonna blow these guys out.
Back to the locker room.
And then I think Texas, they scored on like 2 possessions to make It was a one-score game at one point, I
Yeah,
think,
because
and then Georgia
that
scored that last touchdown.
because I
But,
think
like,
they
yeah.
scored right before the pick that had gotten overturned. So it was
Mhm.
like that was like their first score or something, and then that pick like just set them up,
Dude,
at like the
I was
10-yard
yeah,
line or something. And then
I
I
was
think that's what cut it. I want to say like 8 or something. I feel like it was a one-score game because then
it was 8, yeah, it got
because
to 8.
that's when Beck
It
led
got to
like the 90-yard
23-16.
touchdown drive. That was pretty
'Cause
massive. That big third down conversion,
yeah,
I think, to
if
Arian
Georgia doesn't no,
Smith.
if they don't yeah, that 3rd and 11 to Arian Smith when they're deep in their own territory, like, if they don't pick that up, who knows what would have happened in that game? Because Texas, like, I
Yeah.
mean, I was up in the box for that game, and, like, I don't think I've ever had a crazier moment, like, individual moment of watching football in person than when that ref got up there and said, after further consideration or whatever, because he couldn't even say review. He could just say, like, he was just like, "There's no foul on the play." Bro, like,
Oh my
every
God. Because
every
you're just
single person I guarantee you when he said that, everyone's first reaction was like, "What the hell was that?" Because, like, I was in the press box with people who have been doing this for decades, and they had never seen anything like that.
wow.
But the other reaction was like, "Oh my god, Texas is about to come back, aren't they?" So,
For sure. We
Georgia
already
ended up
felt
putting a lid on that, but there was a moment in time where that game felt like it was about to completely flip.
no, that's definitely true. And you're just sitting there like, well, they can't overturn it. They can't.
Yeah,
They already
you're
called
like,
it. They
"There's
already
no way."
announced they can't overturn it. They do. It's
Yeah.
never been done. What are we doing?
I
Oh
hadn't
man,
even
that was.
considered it in my head when it was going like, I was like, "Oh, that's weird. They're throwing water bottles on the field.
And it's
It'll take
like
a while
the
to clean
refs are
up."
now talking. What are they talking about? What is the conversation that's happening? Did we miss that? And
Please
yeah, it
release the
was.
footage.
I
I
think
wanna
the
hear what
call
that
was the right call, but man, just got
it
bullied
was.
by a
Yeah.
rowdy mob of
I'm
fans.
I'm just glad that it didn't happen again because I like, not within that just again that season with some other game because I remember that was the big worry that I think people kept talking about was, like, Texas just did this and it worked. So, like,
Yeah.
that's gonna show other college student sections that they can do the same thing and it'll work, but luckily, to my knowledge, there were no recorded instances of, like, a PI call getting overturned because of debris being thrown on the field.
Yeah, I don't remember another one. I don't remember it happening again, but yeah, it was man, what a bizarre situation. And then what was it? It was some kind of trick play to Oscar Delp, right? It was like a flea
Yeah,
flicker, like a wheel.
They ran like a Ben Johnson flea flicker thing to Oscar Delp, and he was just
Okay,
wide open
yeah, and
for
that
like
picked up like
35 yards. It was
yeah.
as a Lions fan, like, watching that, I was like, "Oh, that's what we do."
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But to directly address Peter Burns' comments myself, like, yeah, I kind of agree with you. Just like I'm sure that this is all just kind of rage bait or engagement bait, whatever you want to call it, on behalf of Peter Burns, because, like, I get it. Okay, Texas. If I will play Longhorns advocate here, Texas made it further in the season than Georgia. Technically, they made it to the college football semifinal. Georgia got bounced in its first game, so they have that. Like, Texas had a great year
And
this
it's
year.
technically 2 years in a row where Texas
Yeah.
made it further in the postseason than
So, like,
Georgia.
yes, but also you cannot directly say that you are better than this one specific program when you played that one program twice last year. One
Yeah.
time was at home, one time was on a I'm not gonna call the SEC championship a neutral field. I know it's not, but on a, like, 60% neutral field, like, and you lost both
Neutral-ish.
games. And the second game, yeah, it was with Georgia's backup quarterback, and he threw the worst interception of all time, and he handed you the game, and you still didn't win. So I just, like, I understand that Texas is poised to become the next SEC superpower. Like, I'm not doubting that. They'll probably be a playoff team next year. They'll probably be a playoff team the next 3 years. But, like, yeah, I mean, I'm with you, man. Like, you can't lose the SEC championship to a specific like, what if Georgia had lost the national championship to Alabama in 2017, and then after the game, you had analysts being like, "The road to college football now runs through Athens." It's like, no, dude, they just lost. So, I don't
Yeah,
know.
exactly. And that's what doesn't make any sense. Or go after the SEC championship in 2018, they lost to
Yeah,
Saban twice at
like,
that
you run
point.
it
Like,
now. It's like, "No, you lost
yeah,
this."
it's like every single Georgia fan. I don't think you could find one Georgia fan that would have traded Kirby Smart for Nick Saban. like in 2017 or 2018. Like honestly, like
That'd be
for
an interesting
one,
thing to go back
for
and
one,
ask.
he's like 30 years younger. Like that's the
Yeah,
main
yeah, okay,
thing.
yeah.
But it's like Kirby, you were just so I was that confident in Kirby Smart. I think Josh Pate said it like
Yeah.
back in like 2020 or something with Dan Mullen and Kirby Smart. Like there's some Florida fans that would trade Dan Mullen for Kirby Smart. There's not one Georgia fan
Yeah,
alive that would trade
absolutely.
Kirby for Dan Mullen.
Plus, he has that Georgia boy pedigree too. Like he
Absolutely, yeah. But like everyone knew like the writing was on the wall. Like everyone paying attention. I guess there's a lot of trolls out there that thought, "Oh, he's must champ 2.0 even though he took him to a national championship." Like obviously Kirby Smart like had Georgia at an elite level. Like you could see it in 2017, 2018, 2019, like 2020. Like Georgia's clearly building a powerhouse. They've literally finished what top 10 like 9 years in a row now, 8 years in a row now.
Yeah.
Like you could see what Georgia was building before they broke through and won national championships. So to say like Texas is the next superpower, yeah, like we get it. We all see what Texas is building, just like you would have seen what Georgia was building 7-8 years ago. But at no point was Georgia the gold standard before they beat Alabama. Like that was never a thing.
You can't have your coronation before you've actually beaten anybody. And like that's the thing that really gets me the most about this Texas team is like they obviously did prove themselves to be a good team. So I feel bad harping on the fact that like they didn't play anybody because they made it to the college football semifinals. Like they were a really, really, really good team. But the thing is like
we'll go back to that.
The SEC so clearly wanted to just roll out the red carpet for them in their first year. They gave them, no hard, like super crazy matchups. They gave them Red River, of course, like they have to, like they do every year. And then they gave them Georgia at home, which was so clearly meant to be the game where they beat Georgia and they plant their flag as like the SEC team. And it just didn't happen. And they lost. And then, of course, they go the rest of their season. They beat all those, middling teams that they played. And then they get another crack at Georgia again in the SEC championship. They get a mulligan where this time if you win, you're the SEC championship. So that's even better than the first time. And then they lose again. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know how you can sit here and say that the road to the SEC title or whatever runs through Austin because it's like, well, maybe it does, but Georgia crossed it pretty well. So,
yeah, exactly. And you've never won an SEC championship ever. Obviously, you've only been in the conference for 1 year. But it's also like if you look at their schedule, like there's nothing you can do in a year where a big time brand like Florida is not that good, or even in Oklahoma is not that good, But you had Mississippi State and Vanderbilt and Kentucky and Arkansas, like. It just like half of your schedule was like traditionally some of the worst programs in the
worst
SEC,
teams in the SEC,
like the literal bottom. So, and obviously the A&M game was big late in the season.
Yeah. Okay, that was a sick game too. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I mean that was to go to the SEC championship.
The best part about them rejoining the SEC or not rejoining, joining the SEC is that we get that rivalry again. That's like the game's been missing that one. I digress though.
The Texas-Oklahoma becoming an SEC game is kind of cool, but yeah, just the fact that we hadn't had the A&M Texas game since like 2011.
Yeah,
like that's just
they were not going to play each other like ever again. Like they were
like really a real like Auburn Alabama rivalry. I think Auburn Alabama like didn't play in like the 40s and 50s because they like hated each other that much, and eventually they were forced to play.
I forget which one was which, but one of those programs was like pretty publicly like, yeah, we're willing to play them and reopen that rivalry. And I think the other program was Texas, which doesn't surprise me considering like the hubris that they have over the Longhorn network and everything.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Texas was, maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe Longhorns fans can be like, no, you're lying.
Hey, no,
but I'm pretty sure for like a decade, A&M was like, yeah, we're totally open to playing Texas again. And Texas was like, no. We don't want
it makes sense, right? Just from like a narrative perspective, like Texas is the one that would turn their nose up. Like A&M is like dude, A&M, they're not Georgia Tech, but they feel like a little brother. Like we really, really, really want to beat Texas, like more than anything in the world.
I mean, we're talking about a program that cratered its own conference because it wanted its own TV network rather than just letting the conference itself have a network like every other conference was doing.
Yeah.
Like the reason that the Big 12, suffered the way it did is because Texas wanted the Longhorn network. Like that's why that happened.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I will say Texas and Oklahoma really do fit the SEC. Like they fit like the culture of the SEC.
Yeah, they do.
But you remember like a decade ago, there was like rumors of them going to the Pac-12. I feel like I would like that more if they were in the Pac-12 and the Pac-12 still existed. And like, I don't know if you had Oregon and Texas, like the powers out west. Like, I don't know. It's something
nothing
about.
would surprise me anymore, man. I mean, the Atlantic Coastal Conference, which you know which ocean that is, has Stanford and Cal in it now. So like, conferences are just so far gone, man.
Oh, of course. But yeah, so I think that's the last thing we can say about Texas.
Yeah,
we'll just
I just started ranting about all my like grievances with their entire program just from that one quote. I was like, the Longhorn Network, like, yeah.
Hey, that's what we're here for, man.
I need to shut up now, like.
And I can understand exactly why Texas was a villain in the Big 12 because it's like you're one of the SEC. It's like I'm already tired of these guys. Yeah, and it's like there's something about Texas or Big 12 fans chanting SEC. It's like you guys weren't SEC. Like we chant this against you guys. Like if I were to beat Texas, be like that's how we do it in the SEC. Like you guys wouldn't understand. You know, it's. I don't. That's the one thing. The SEC, the watered down SEC bragging rights. I think that's one thing I have an issue with.
I agree.
Also, the only nice thing I'll ever say about University of Florida is they started that. As far as I'm concerned, 2006 national championship when Ohio State was number 1 and Florida just ran them out of the building. That was the first time I ever heard like individual players, but like they can't handle the SEC. It's just SEC speed's different. Like, yeah, they were just like, because that Florida team like scratched and clawed through like every game. They won like half their games by like one score. And then Ohio State's blowing everyone out and they just absolutely destroy Ohio State. It was like, they were built different in the SEC for sure. That's one nice thing I'll say about Florida. And then that was the start of like the 7, 8 in a row.
That and then they gave us Gatorade. So that's two things that they did that are good.
I'll give them that as well. But our last segment of the show here, sir. It's our last segment period. So we're gonna have to come up with a new weekly segment here.
Oh yeah.
In our 2025 positional. What's that?
We can't do a kicker preview next week.
Maybe we'll get a special
Palin Rudering and Charlie Ham.
Who are if you're ready for some deep dive on special teams, I know maybe you don't have that press conference access anymore to ask Kirby Smart the tough questions, but
I can go through my archives.
Hey, if we could figure out, if we get a deep dive, who those gunners going to be and who's returning punts, who's returning kicks, we could deep dive all the way into special teams.
We could do that.
Let's do it. Honestly, I've convinced myself. You've convinced me. We could talk about special teams. We're replacing Arian Smith
live on air. This is the creative process in motion.
There you go, man. Arian Smith was an elite gunner. All right.
Yes,
so someone's got to replace that guy.
And he's going to be for the New York Jets too.
Absolutely. And I really want to see Zachariah Branch returning some punts. I'll just say that, but we'll save that.
He did a good bit of that on G-Day, so there's a good chance of that, I think. But that's for another time.
But that's for next week. Let's stick to the safety preview. We'll do safety and star position preview in our last of the 2025 positional previews. So this is one of the few question marks in terms of who the guys that are going to play the most snaps are. It's like on the defensive line, you don't necessarily know who the difference makers are going to be, but you kind of know who they're going to use. And in the safety spot, KJ Bolden is their guy. Started basically every game as a freshman, just about. And after that, it's like, is it You got 3 transfers coming in. I guess we feel confident about Janelle Aguero in the star spot as well. But we have Adrian Maddox. Am I saying his name right?
Adrian Maddox.
Adrian Maddox, Jaden Harris from Miami, and then the brother of Zachariah Branch, Zion Branch from USC. I think there's one spot for those 3 guys. Who do you think is the other starter opposite KJ Bolden right now?
Man, I've thought about this like all day. Like I've really tried to come up with an answer. I think like gun to my head, I'd probably say Zion Branch. Just purely and I think that the tiebreaker with all of this is I know it's bad to look at the spring game and make projections based on that, but I'm about to do that just because and they all play pretty good in the spring game. I think Adrian Maddox had they carved up a blitz for him on a safety blitz and he got a sack. But Zion Branch had like 9 tackles, I think, on G-Day. And like, I mean, that checks out, man. Like I think people have kind of forgotten about him because everyone is super focused on Zachariah, and rightfully so. Zachariah Branch is a really cool player, has crazy speed, has really cool highlights, all that. Should be a very good player for Georgia. But Zion Branch was also like a pretty highly rated recruit. And I mean, I can't spell his frame off the top of my head, but he has phenomenal size for the position. Very good tackling technique. I mean, like almost led the team in tackling on G-Day. I think of the 3 guys, he might have the highest like floor as a player, just because of his natural talent and his natural like just physical gifts. So I'd go with him. I think his USC career was like kind of derailed by injury. He had some pretty bad ones while he was there. Never really got a chance to show what he could do, but I think he's probably the most talented player of those 3. So on May 6th, yeah, that's what I would say right now.
I think I'm with you. I'm leaning towards Zion Branch. I list him at 6'2", 210.
Okay. See, like that's big. That's a big safety.
Absolutely. And I think I've heard he's the like Janelle Aguero, like we said, is locking down that starter spot, that star spot.
Yeah.
But he's had his injuries, in his brief time at Georgia. So I've heard Zion Branch is potentially the other guy at star. So, maybe if we do see Janelle Aguero have another injury or something, keeps him off the field, maybe Zion Branch moves to that star spot. And then maybe then Adrian Maddox is the guy, or maybe then Jaden Harris steps in. And there's also guys on campus. Ja'Cory Thomas, I think he started at star, I want to say, in the Clemson game. And played about 4 plays, and Kirby Smart was like, okay, we're changing this up.
He had a nice PBU in that game.
Did he? He did. I just remember him starting, and then KJ Bolden came in and basically never left the field.
Yeah, KJ Bolden led the whole defense in snaps in his first game.
Yeah. Oh, that is right. So and just because you're not as good as KJ Bolden doesn't mean you're not a good player in your own right. So maybe Ja'Cory Thomas is able to take another step this year. Maybe it's the Jake Gaines bias here, and mixed with J.R. Reed. Because when Kirby Smart takes a small school guy, I just kind of like Kirby knows something. Yeah, like Kirby knows something about. What's that?
Same jersey number 2, right? 20.
Oh, was he?
J.R. Reed was 20. Ja'Cory Thomas is 20, I think.
Oh no, I'm talking about Adrian Maddox. What number is Adrian Maddox?
Oh, I don't know.
I can't remember him off the top of my head, but that's what I'm saying. When J.R. Reed, what's funny is I feel like I talked about this probably before you jumped on the show. Like it goes with the Braves and Georgia, and this is a real sidebar. But like when Georgia gets like 2 guys that feel like a pair, I feel like a duo. The lower ranked guy is always the better guy. Like I don't know what it is. Yeah, it was. Yeah, there you go. There's one. Like it was like Freddie Freeman and Jason Hayward. Like Freeman turns out to be the better one. Jeff Francoeur, Brian McCann. Brian McCann turns out to be the better one. Like I don't know. There's a long history of this, and the one I'm going with here is D'Angelo Gibbs was the 5-star out of Peachtree Ridge, and J.R. Reed is just like his cousin. He's a Tulsa transfer. Yeah, bring him in. J.R. Reed's like a 3-year starter, All-American. Like J.R. Reed was great for Georgia, and he's one of those guys.
Yeah,
I kind of
he was
talk about like
awesome.
Javon Bullard, like Dan Jackson, just always around the ball. Like I feel like a
Oh, yeah,
good safety is just
for
always in the
sure.
right spot.
Dude,
But
D'Angelo Gibbs is a name I've not heard in a long time.
D'Angelo Gibbs had high hopes for D'Angelo
He went
Gibbs.
to
I actually
Tennessee, right?
covered.
After
What's that?
he transferred to Tennessee.
Yeah, he ended up at
Yeah,
Tennessee,
he did. Okay.
and he was at Peachtree Ridge, and then I think he ended up at Grayson his senior year.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I remember I covered a game for him when I was working for the Forsyth County News. I think they were playing West Forsyth or something, and he was playing wide receiver, and I was like, "This is like the tightest wide receiver I've ever seen." Like D'Angelo Gibbs looked so good at wide receiver, and then I think he was like similar size actually to Zion Branch. He was like 6'2", 210.
Yeah.
Like he was a big safety. And then didn't pan out. I think he ended up playing receiver at Tennessee, but I don't think he ever really played at Tennessee either.
He was a man. That's one of the biggest. Just like what happened to that guy's.
Yeah, and that's back when Georgia fans were hanging on the commitment dates and everything because you're like, is this guy gonna be the superstar that breaks through? I think he committed during like the Under Armour All-American game.
Yeah, he did.
Those public commitments are always the best ones, like in some sort of event, signing day, those kind of things. Yeah, but all of that was a super
current safety.
Roundabout.
I just got super stoked thinking about D'Angelo Gibbs. I was like,
yeah, I'll bring it all back. I just feel like when Kirby Smart goes like a small school, like he knows something. He knows something that other people don't. Like this, I think he started at West Alabama. Is that right? Adrian Maddox, then at UAB.
I think it was either that or Alabama State. It was either I think it might have been Alabama State and then UAB.
Okay, I could be wrong. But now he's at Georgia. I think there's something about that dude's grinding. He's just one step at a time, just working his way up. I feel like they're just a vibes wise. I'm not basing this on any intel and film I've seen. Just really, there's something I agree for something I like about Adrian Maddox. And like I said, Jake Gaines was the last UAB transfer I remember at Georgia, and those were good times as well.
No, I agree. I was thinking about that too because, so he was at Alabama State for 2 years. That's the thing. I've seen the least of him playing than either other guy that committed to Georgia. Because Jaden Harris and Zion Branch were like obviously at like AAA programs, so I've seen a little bit more of them. But yeah, I agree. The fact that he is on, he started at Alabama State and then he transfers to a bigger school within state at UAB and is a standout there too. And then he gets noticed by Georgia. Not only that, but he was committed to Florida. Then he flipped to Georgia. Like that's
forgot about that angle.
He flips from Georgia's biggest rival. Like I agree. The vibes, I'm not like, I can't sit here and say I expect him to be a starter and be a super impact player, but the vibes with him are very good. I completely agree.
Hey, what's more important than vibes, really?
Nothing.
You really come here for the expert analysis or the vibe, But yeah, I think and I think it says something about a guy, like obviously we haven't seen Ryan Puglisi play, but when you hear a guy that's like, yeah, he's committed to Georgia, Dylan Raiola commits, and he's like, yeah, that doesn't do anything to my commitment. I'm going to Georgia. I'm going to play at Georgia.
Yeah.
Like it's just something about that confidence, And so a guy that's at Alabama State, he's like, I know I'm better than this. Ends up at UAB, he's like, I know I'm better than this. And maybe he's right. And maybe he's good enough to play at Georgia and could make himself a lot of money at the next level.
Yeah. I really do. I think he could be a pretty good player. Trey Harris was kind of a head scratcher for me. He had one of like the high. I can't pull out the exact
Trey
number.
Harris.
Trey Harris. Sorry, I made an abrupt transition there.
Yeah,
because I wanted to talk a little bit about this guy.
Okay.
That's the one guy that I kind of don't really. I'm a little uncertain about. He had one of the highest missed tackle rates in like the entire country last year. Like it was very high. It was like in the 20s or something, like 30s. And I watched a little bit of like some of his film or whatever, and like there are just so many plays where he just runs in there with like no plan. Like against the run, he'll fit it completely wrong. he'll just come super hard off the edge, like not like they play him in the box a lot and they try to use him as a run defender, but then he doesn't really like he'll just overshoot run plays and stuff. And it's like I don't know. He's very big and he does have a lot of plays where he's just shot out of a cannon tackling a guy. But like I feel like Kirby is just so hard on safeties and he preaches discipline in the safety room more than anything else because that's the position he played, it's the position he knows best. Jaden Harris just doesn't seem like a player Kirby Smart would recruit to me. So I don't know. That's one of the more confusing transfers I think I've seen. But he also just plays with a certain physicality and just like headhunting mentality that I can kind of get. Not headhunting. That's I know that's a bad term.
That's illegal now, but that's a good term.
But he does. I think he has a kind of toughness that I can see Georgia being drawn to him. But also there are a lot of things I'm just like, wow, this is a guy that I if he did this at Georgia, he'd be benched.
So are you questioning maybe his ability at safety and maybe he's more of a candidate for star?
I don't know where I'd put him. I mean, like he has good instincts making as a tackler, I guess, most of the time, but also he misses a lot of tackles just because he bounces off of guys sometimes, or sometimes he'll just take a terrible angle. He just doesn't. I don't see where he fits in really at all in this room. I know I'm just crapping on this guy for no reason. I brought him up out of nowhere, but like I'm just so I don't know. That's the one guy that I think transferred to Georgia that I'm like this year that I'm like I don't know where he really fits on this team.
That's interesting. There's not
some sort
of rivalry with you and Riverwood High School, is there? I see he's an Atlanta guy.
Yeah, no, I have no problem with Riverwood actually. I got a lot of friends from Riverwood. That is cool. He is an Atlanta guy, so shout out to him for that. I don't know. I think maybe he does have a lot of like just natural talent as a tackler, and he is a thumper, man. But like I don't know. Maybe Georgia will refine some part of his game that really needs refining. But for me, it's like Miami fans were getting mad at him on Twitter the whole year from what I saw. And then he transferred to Georgia. So it was like,
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
They get Carson
he is a redshirt junior. So Maddox is listed as a senior. So, maybe he's a multi-year guy and he's ready by 2026 or something like that. He could step in and start. But yeah, I think that's interesting. He's number 12, by the way, and Adrian Maddox is 14. So
jersey number.
Yeah, and so we have him and Gunner on.
12 is a good DB number. Shout out to Travis Hunter.
There you go. Shout out to Jawan Briscoe, the last number 12 I could think of off the top of my head. I'm sure there's Vandergriff was 12. There's not many 12s I can think of impact players.
Right? No. Trey Blunt was 14. Wait, no. What was Tavares King 15 or 12?
Tavares King was 12. You might be thinking of that one game he rocked 15.
Okay,
because every receiver rocked 15 one game because Marlon Brown had like a season-ending injury.
Yeah.
So that's funny. It's funny you say that. I remember him rocking 15 one time. Hey, and going way back, bringing the whole pod full circle, Brandon Miller, highly ranked linebacker, rocked 12 back in the day. But I appreciate everyone tuning in live this week. Appreciate you watching this video. Appreciate my co-host over there, Bo Underwood. We'll come at we do this every week. We came at you 7 o'clock this week. Usually we're 8 o'clock. Maybe we'll change up with 7 o'clock. I don't know. We'll make a program announcement if we need to. But Bo, I appreciate you joining me. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It always helps us out. And as always, go Dogs.